Hi, everyone. I apologize for my tardiness. I said that I would come back the very next day. Clearly, I didn't come back the very next day. But I am here now because I have finally watched um, Harry and Meghan. I apologize again in advance, just in case if you hear my kids. And my husband is working on a music album upstairs. I wish he'd go to the studio because anyway, so you may hear it and I apologize. Okay, so the first half of Megan, I watched Harry and Meghan. I watched it and I'm gonna walk through my emotions here. So the first set of emotions that I had, I was in tears because I thought that their love story was the most sweetest thing I have seen. And I I thought that they were so endearing to each other. And I really appreciated, seeing the kind of level of interaction that they had with each other. And so I just thought that was so sweet. My heart was just like overwhelmed. So let me I start that off there. Okay. The second thing after I'm working through my emotions of seeing how cute they are together, like I've always thought they were cute together, but I really enjoy us walking through Harry. And as they're talking about their love story, they're really talking about kind of like how Harry is this really, kind of this evolution of who he was. I felt I'm a bit older than Harry, not that much, but I was I felt I remember when um I watched the wedding. I remember when Harry was, when I remember the funeral. Um and I mean I was clearly in high school when the funeral happened and on my prom, not the day after my prom, they replayed the entire wedding because it's the same year. I think it's the same year the year before. I think it was the same year that his mom died, and I just felt, I was sad. I was no, take it back. That was not the year. She died when I was younger. So I was not in high school. I would think I was in junior high. And you've seen all the interviews were plugged in, love Diana. And the thing that I think that I remember the most is really Harry walking behind. Just looking at Harry, I think that I remembered Harry more than William. I I don't know. I always thought that William was attractive. I didn't really necessarily think that Harry was, but I think that the thing is that Harry was a lot more becoming more relatable because he was just everywhere. And um and I have to put this in context that not I know that they're putting this in context of the UK, but um UK's media. And I appreciated how Harry broke down UK's media in a significant way and explaining how why they're such a partner. So when he says that the media is a part of the royal, not the royal family, but I would say the industry. And I just felt like I was like, oh, that's pretty legit. And so now when he explained how you become a royal a person who's a royal an expert on the royal family And it's like there's really it's not even as if you do not have to be like study the royal family. It is I have a deal with the royal family to cover them, and then they're going to give me exclusive information. And whenever I say expert of the royal family, people are supposed to take it as true fact. And I was like, oh, oh. And so when he explains it this way, I was like, oh, so I understand even more why he feels a sense of betrayal. Because, of course, it's going to get out about, the things but I honestly think that the sense of betrayal is even before, um, when you're a kid, I wonder about the sense of relationship you have, right? So the sense of relationship as he's growing up, I don't think he fully comprehends. He understood the intensity, but this was just part of the cause. And so he makes that comment like this is just a thing that we do. We stand here, we're followed around, but they're supposed to give us reprieve, and it was never really reprieve. And this deal with the media started really with Diana. And so it's like it was supposed to kind of allow the royal family to have a sense of control, of controlling the narrative of how they're going to be perceived. And if that's the case, then why would you tear down Diana? If that's the case, then why do you go after Harry and William? But you really went after, I guess you went after both of them, but you went after Harry a lot. Um, you definitely went after William for sure. But the way they cover William and Kate is not the same that they cover Harry and um, Meghan, and they both have the same they both have the same communications office. So I completely can now really begin to start fathoming why I think that there's a sense of betrayal that cuts deep. I still love my brother, I still love my dad, but there's a bit of deep betrayal here because William may not, William may be cool with everything and is nice and thinks that things are copacetic, right? Everything's legit. But on the flip side, there's that other perspective that's coming out. And I think that's, you know, I may like you, Meghan. I'm hugging and you're so, we're cool in person, we're whatever. But you're still cool enough to hook up with the media to to give out to allow certain stories to come out. And so I can understand where I don't think the intensity is about Meghan. I don't think the rift really is about Meghan. The rift is that you're willing to continue to have these stories, and you know that I have a son at the time, and my son is going to grow up without a mother if you won't curb some of this. Mm-hmm. And you're cool with my son growing up without a mom. And you can clearly see, I think that that's the breakdown. I know that they're in love with each other. I really am there with you. But I think people have to pause hard. Being in love with a woman, being in love with a man, being in love with an opposite person or someone beside yourself, and deciding to share your life with each other. That is one thing. We know that there can always be an end. I get it. And I know that they're madly in love and they don't want to have an end. And I love their engagement story. I think all of it is just very sweet, endearing, blah, blah, blah. I am in the, they're very sweet. Sorry about that, kids. Um, and I was just about to make that comment, right? They're very sweet. Being in love is very sweet. It's enduring. It's lovely. And I'm going to protect my spouse. Yeah. Okay, fine. But there is a difference. There's a different space when you have a kid, because my kid can't speak for itself, right? My kid can't support itself. My kid can't protect. And when you're dealing with a man who spent 10 years in the military, who's had a mother who died, who is clearly, you can completely see in this documentary that he is still heartbroken over his mother's death. And you have a 10 years in the military, and who spent so much time, sometimes 4 to 5 months out of a year, in Africa, working in these working in Botswana and different locations, dedicating his time to these conservations, and and I don't know how anyone would expect Harry to go along with consistently disrespecting his spouse and then mother of his son. It is pretty evident he made a choice when Archie was born. I'll do the review for the second part, but I'm already here. When Archie was born, I think that it clicked in his head that I was born into this. She signed up for this. But Archie, I have a duty. And my duty is to protect my kid. And I'm coming to you, brother. This is where this is going. I'm coming to you, brother. And I'm coming to you, dad. And I think the brother is more because we share communications team together. So I'm coming to you, brother. And you should know exactly how I feel, because the two of us both lost a mother. And to see that that did not trigger anything in his brother, there's going to be a rift. I love you. I will always love you. And it's clear that he is going to always have his brother back. But he has an obligation first. And now he got 2 kids. So he's obligated to his 2 kids. I think that's a legit, reasonable mindset to come from. And I don't understand how people can't wrap their head around and think that he chose his wife. He didn't choose his wife. He chose his kids. That includes his wife. I mean, we can say family, but it's clear that he chose his kids first. And he's coming from, and when he makes a statement that he's coming from his child Harry perspective. But when he made that statement saying that he's going to have to look his kid in the eyes and say, what did you do at this moment to what did you do? And he wants to be able to respond to his kids. That's legit. And I think that people aren't willing to take the humanity out of it. They're so focused on the royal side and not focusing on the humanity. Pause there and let's shift over to, I was moved when Meghan is dealing with her dad. And Meghan makes a statement about, because clearly he was supposed to walk Meghan down the aisle, and we all know that he didn't. And when she really is like, this man sold me out to the tabloids for $100,000. And coming from a royal side, I mean, coming from somebody who has infinite wealth, um, that, I mean, her mother, I am down with her mother's perspective. I'm not selling my kid out for, I would not sell my kid out for $100,000. But I mean, it's irreparable, and I'm sure he got way more money than that now, because he was doing way more than just that story. He was doing a lot. Talking about he's writing a book. Her sister is writing a book, and she's like, I haven't seen her since I was 9 or something like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. I just Meghan hit the head, and you can tell that it hurt her though. But Meghan hit the head on the nail when she said they expected the other side of my family, my mama's side, to act a fool. And I was like, oh, they really don't know Black folks. Because as ridiculous as we can be, we don't act a plumb fool. And these people are acting like plumb fools. Like plumb fools. Have you heard anything from uh she got her mother got sisters. Did you hear anything from her aunt? No. Her cousins? No. Like, I mean, no one's gonna no one's gonna act a fool. And I just don't understand that. And I felt bad, first of all, that the sister didn't even raise her daughter. So credibility is lost. You writing a book about how horrible Meghan is. Ma'am, why haven't you raised your daughter? Explain this to me. Why does your mama have to raise your daughter? Explain that. And then she didn't see you until she was like 16. Hmm? And then when she's like, I had to disassociate myself from her because of how horrible she saw my Meghan. Do you see that your own daughter chose her aunt over you? And that she is upset to this day that she lost her connection with her aunt because of you? Like, ma'am, ma'am. I'm not sure who's buying the book. I definitely am not buying the book. And I wish you no success from buying the book, from selling the book. Okay. I think it's unfortunate that people are not watching the entire series, or at least the 3 episodes where she's really having conversations about race and racial identity. Instead, they're taking out these little tidbits, which is what they want, and trying to start these conversations online. And it's just really so bothersome watching it because um, it's really bothersome watching these little segments that they put on Twitter, and all these people are talking about, oh, she ain't Black, or these white folks talking about how she always declares herself a mixed race, and she's always this, and she's not this. And then, I mean, I was like, okay, y'all are not understanding the statements that she's trying to make. And I think what bothers, and okay, this is a real conversation here. Let's have a come to Jesus moment. In America, there is a privilege with there is a dichotomy. There is white, and then there's Black. And then there is a privilege to lean as close to white and as far from Black. And so when you have people who are of fair skin, who can be racially ambiguous, you lead to a conversation that they have a level of privilege. And people do not like to hear this statement. Black folks want you to say, I'm Black. And they do not want to we acknowledge that there's colorism, but people do not want to realize that as accepting as Black folks are, we absolutely judge you based on your hair. We judge you based on your features. And Meghan Markle has features that allows her to be racially ambiguous. Her voice is not as, her voice allows her to be even more racially ambiguous. But you can clearly see, if she shows up, to me, she shows up as a Black woman. I don't care if it's black and white picture or whatever. You can clearly see that she's a Black woman. And that's even with straight hair. Okay? Period. Point blank, period. But I also am fully aware that her features allows her to mix in. And this conversation is bothersome for people because it is disjointing. And I must say that it's because we want people to want to be Black and share their experience of oppression that we all feel. And I'm going to say that there is oppression, but it differs based on where you grow up, based on the family that you have, based on the complexion of your skin, based on your education. All of these things, based on the money that you have, the occupation you choose, all of these things has different experiences of how you experience race. So Meghan Markle makes a statement, and people on the internet has only cut off a bit of her statement. She makes a statement by saying that it's not verbatim, about how she doesn't really show up, she doesn't really has had that many experiences being with racism as a Black woman. Like, she's until now, like, she didn't realize as being a Black woman. Now, here's the thing about this. I think of my own experience. Let me pause here, talk about my own experience for a second. I went to Pepperdine, and I've had these comments about my race a few times. And I definitely can say I've experienced a couple of moments in my life where, as a kid, that completely confronted with racism, my mother had to try to explain this, right? And the way that my mother explains this kind of thing is that she is very direct, confrontational. My mother was raised in segregation. There was no, and she has cousins that could absolutely pass, and some of them did pass. My mother is fairer than me, and her hair is finer than mine. My mother's hair cannot get into an afro. And so there's aspects of her. I do look like her, but a darker her. And my grandmother is even lighter with even fairer with her hair. My mother could pass for my grandmother would look just like I Love Lucy to me. And I don't think that she could have passed. I don't think that my mother could have passed. But her experiences differs, right? And so my mother was a very confrontational, um, look, you black, you gonna have to work harder, be better, blah blah. And I'm like, but I did work hard and it didn't work. Right. And so when I got to college though, um, it's the first time that um, you really became aware of how much, and it's not just one person, two people, it's almost everywhere you go. Everyone saw you as Black Elizabeth, right? It wasn't, oh, where are you from? Oh, what's your major? Oh, it wasn't anything to get to know you. I always tell this story about I knew I was going to join the sorority. So freshman year, I do their rush, and the one I can't. It sounds silly, but the one that I liked the most was Tri-Delts, and um, I thought it was cute. I thought it was corny, but I thought it was adorable. They had a little routine, and I just thought it was just so cute. But they had one Black girl, and that one Black girl was dark, and they would not pick any more than just one Black girl. So I didn't get picked for my number one pick. In fact, I didn't get picked by anybody except one. Because here's the thing, when you go through Rush, everyone must get picked. At least one, by one person must get picked. So the person that I got picked from was Sigma Kappa. I'm in the middle of, huh? No, I'm in the middle of the video. Okay. Sorry about that. Sigma Kappa. Okay. And so I was like, well, I mean, if Sigma Kappa is the only one to pick me, so I guess I have to go with Sigma Kappa. So there was no, technically, you were supposed to, I match with you, you match with me. Here's the thing about Sigma Kappa. They had no Black people. And so I'm in the group. We go to our first night. We're going out on the beach, and it's a bonfire. And I don't believe it was a ceremony. I don't remember. But it's this whole let's get to know each other. And we go back upstairs because it's the beach house. Go back upstairs, and um we're going to watch, and everyone did the I have never have I ever. And I'm looking around at these girls listening to the stuff that they've done, and I was just like, I've never done any of this stuff. And what kind of girls are you? And then they're like, oh, let's watch our favorite movie. And then what's your favorite movie? Like Grease. And at the time, it was the 90s. Love Jones was my movie. And I was like, Grease. Now look, and I think at that time too, you have to put this in perspective. That I used to be in musical theater. I used to do like plays. Every single time it was always a Grease song. And I was just like, aren't y'all tired of Grease? Like every single time. And then I used to, that was when I went, did, some of the white schools. And then when I go and do tap in the evening and I'm with all these black folks, we doing jazz. And so like complete juxtapose. And I could not stomach, and even to this day, I'm not a big fan of Grease. The songs are cool, but I feel like this is the 1950s and there ain't no black folks. Oh, I forgot segregation. So I I struggled, and so it was then and there in my head. I came home. I was like, I ain't going. I did attend a couple of meetings. And by that time, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And I told him I'm not doing this. You need, whatever. And so then they were like, well, because you have to pay money. So then they kept coming up to me on campus whenever they saw me and was like, so, are you gonna come to this? And I was like, no. And they're like, okay, so are you gonna do this? I told you I'm not interested. Like, we have nothing in common. And then it was like, well, can you come to, if you can't afford it, then we'll pay for your dues. And I was like, who said I couldn't afford it? I'm not interested. And then they're like, what? And lo and behold, this whole entire time, because I thought it was suspicious, because why would you keep bothering me to keep coming? You know, email was a thing, but email was not as much as like y'all just keep coming. And I felt a little harassed now because you knocking on my door. And at the time I didn't have a cell phone. So, you come into my door, you every time you see me in the lunchroom, you coming by the lunchroom, you coming up to me because at Pepperdine, the lunchroom was divided in this unofficial divider where the black kids sat near closer to the door, the white kids sat in the middle, the Asian kids sit all the way in the back, and those who are these interracial couples sit all the way to the right. And it's unfortunate because every time I go back to campus, and I go back pretty frequent, the black kids still sit in the same spot. And the point come to find out, Sigma Kappa was suspended because they didn't have a black girl. So, I mean, I knew I was being used as a token, but I was like, wow, you just needed my name. That's all you needed, my name and black. And when you had teachers who would call your name because you were black, my roommate, Katie Kelly, was like, you're black, he's black. So I was like, look, the level of, and I know that Prince Harry made a comment about unconscious bias, and I appreciate that he's educating himself, but I know that we like to use the word unconscious bias because it's a lot easier to digest than just say racism, but they're little cuts. And it gets to the point that my freshman year, I was just sleeping more than I was awake. I literally was just awake to go to class and go to work because I had an on-campus job. And I mean, I was just collecting checks because after a while, I wasn't spending my money on anything. I was sleeping. And it was just so overwhelming, the level of depression, where it's like, yes, I was getting to know myself, but I wasn't really, how much of me was I knowing? Because I was really trying to, I had to create my identity but people are shaping my identity based on my race. And I thought that I had more to offer than just being Black, but everywhere I went, I was Black. I couldn't be Elizabeth. And I want you to know Elizabeth, not Black Elizabeth. And it also comes from the Black community too. Like if whenever there was a Black kid who chose to not sit with us, who chose to like date a white person, who chose to do all these things, like we felt you abandoned us. And I think that's unfair too, but that's how we felt because there weren't enough of us and we really wanted you to see us and to be us and to recognize us. And that's what we want with Meghan is that when she says those things, she's telling her experience, but the reason why it's so hurtful to us is because it's not hurtful to me, but the reason why people are really rejecting her experience and saying stuff like that is because we want you to have always felt where we are. And we don't want you to wait until you come into this extreme position where you're in these extreme white spaces where you used to float in and out of white spaces. And this is the thing that's awakening for Meghan, is that she really did believe, and it's possible, that white people in America did not see her as Black, that they just saw her as Meghan. And I think that she still hasn't come to the understanding that as hateful and confrontational as people in the UK were to her and only saw her as Black, period, that's how they also see you here. You have a privilege in the United States, but they also see you as Black. And here's the thing. The irony to all of this is that, and I think that this is why you have Harry that's having also an awakening moment here, is because the people who defend Meghan Markle to the death online, and I'm one of them, is Black folks. And the people who came to her rescue when it comes to we leaving the royal family, who can we call up to be ultra protected? You know who comes to her rescue to be ultra protected? Black folks. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey. They insulated her. And they accept you're with Meghan, we accept in you, Harry. We are giving you a more sense of protection more than your family would give you. And that is also changing him as much as it's also changing her to realize that there is also a privilege in being Black, the positive privilege in being Black. And if you think of the times in Harry's life, the people who gave him the most sense of protection and comfort are Black folks in Africa, Black folks in Jamaica, Black folks in America. And I think that's also consistently shaping his mind in a way to where, unfortunately, she's going to have a conversation that her mother never had with her. She's going to have a conversation with her kids about race because the baby Archie has not even, before he was even born, he was already being called and pictured as an ape. So this kid is going to be able to Google his name one day and see all of the racial epithets. He could have red hair, freckles, as light as can be, as cute as a button, and still be called ape. And that's the unfortunate thing. Now, the other aspect And I say all that, like, from my experience of level of depression, when it comes to this awakening and it's confrontational, it has nothing to do with I always knew I was Black. I've always had my experiences as Black. I grew up in a Black church. I'm not even going to try to ask my Black heart. I'm not going through this. But what I'm saying is that it is different when no one seems to want to see and know you outside of the fact that you are Black. And you can't leave because you live here, you sleep here, you go to school here, and everyone is supposed to be looking like you are good. And what it does is this gives you a sense of refuge. My refuge is I pledged AKA off campus. Now there's an AKA chapter on the campus. And your refuge is that you want to go back to be around people that will accept you, that want to know, that looks like you, yes. But you know, it's not just about the looking like me. It's about they want to get to know me. For me, has nothing to do with my race. I am much more than my race. And that experience is still triggering for me. It still has trauma for me. It has made me, it has completely jaded me. I am much more distrustful. I am absolutely anyone I meet, I am like, I'm not sure if you're trying to get to know me from me. Am I being used right now? Am I your pawn? Am I your uh token? Am I the diversity check? And I've had situations. I taught at one college for a year, and they told me from the gate, first faculty meeting in front of everybody, we had to hire somebody for diversity for WASC in order to keep our accreditation. And I'm like, well, damn. And I'm the only one who's not white in the room. So I guess you're talking about me. And this was in the midst of an anti-training, anti racist training. So, I mean, that was in the faculty meeting. I mean, it was, and then the level of microaggression over and over. I was like, I can't, um, I mean, and I actually had a student that was racially profiled and doubly racially profiled. He was racially profiled in my class too by my from my department chair. And when this young boy looked up at me and said, because I was like, look, you guys have to do this, this, and this because this is what they're saying about, this is what they're saying about you. And he looked at me, he's like, do you see us as that too? I was like, my heart, and that's the thing. I don't think that white folks realize the level of trauma that racism brings. And it's not to say that, yes, you can get over it. And yes, you can have thick skin. And I get that. But sometimes it's this. I'm gonna need a sec. What do you mean? I need give me a couple minutes. Because I can't just bounce back as much as you think I can. I'm gonna need a sec. And that's what a lot of these moments are. I'm gonna need a sec. And I think that the Harry and Meghan story, and I'm watching the criticism. I don't get the criticism at all. I really don't. I was more endeared to Harry by watching it, but I don't get the criticism. Um, I think I do think that race is nuanced, and I do think that unfortunately, this is a conversation that darker skin women, darker skin, yeah, I would say darker skin women are uncomfortable with having, because I think because there's a lot of pushback here because it's hard to hear when someone says, I'm not, what she's saying is, I've been able to kind of not be seen as Black. And when you cannot not be seen as Black, that's a trigger. And I will also say, I mean, because it's helpful to know you never see her in her natural hair, right? I um I specifically wear my hair natural on purpose. And for most of my life, my hair was straight. And I um and you date people who really wanted to keep that look. I mean, I've dated people where it was like you need to be in the shop every 2 weeks. Like your hair can't be natural. You and I'm not saying that about Harry. I'm just saying that it fits the look. You can't, and that's something that I'm sure she's comfortable with because that's what she lives. That's what she does anyway. But I mean, little things like how you need to be is a bit much. I think it's complicated, and I appreciate the conversation that's starting this because it's a hard conversation to have, and it's uncomfortable, and I think, and I do think that this show is pretty powerful. And I think my favorite thing about of all is everything that they're saying, like they have evidence, they have text messages, they have emails, they have like, and you're like, oh, so you've been saving all of your correspondence. Okay. When it's like, I haven't seen you since such and such. Or I talked to my dad and this is what happened. And he's saying we didn't. And it's like, here's a text message. I appreciate that because it does provide a level of context that it's going to make it very hard. And then um and when the royal family's like, nah, Netflix didn't try to contact me, Netflix dropped the receipt, like, yes, we did. You didn't want to, but they were prepared for that, clearly. This is a lot, and I think I'm hoping that the next video is not this long, so I apologize. Sure, and I apologize for both of my kids interrupting. I am hungry. I haven't ate. I can't even remember. I'm wrapping gifts. that was a whole ordeal. And I'm tired, as you can probably see. That's probably because I haven't eaten in a long time. So I'm about to eat something, and it's way too late for me to eat, but I got to do something because I'm getting a headache. So, with that being said, have a great rest of your day. The rest of Harry and Meghan comes out on Thursday. I think I should be able to watch it on Thursday and come back. I think it's the next 3 episodes. It is such a good story. Oh, I haven't even gotten into slavery. Like, oh my gosh, they got into the whole slavery bit on this episode. I think I'm gonna save the slavery aspect because that's a nice way to start off the conversation about talking about this wedding. Because I know this, because with people who did not go see the wedding, that wedding is blackety black. And I am quite sure that, I'm gonna write that down. Start with slavery next time. And then I know I'm gonna do a video on Avatar because girl, because Avatar is gonna make me. I'm gonna go see Avatar on Friday, and I'm gonna come with the conversation, the stuff on Avatar, and I already have my feeling about Avatar. So let's just put that out there. But I am going to come with the Avatar bits and pieces. But I am also going to do Harry. I guess I should do Wednesday, but I think Wednesday's kind of late. It's been like a month. Anyway, have a great rest of your afternoon, and I will see you later.